So we have ownership, extremely important.
So, we dealt quite a bit with the ownership
Mhm.
before. For me, it's very, very helpful to understand who the owners are, because the owners, in many ways, help define the culture of the bank. Uh, and I'm not just looking at this as a list screening exercise, but I look very much at the pedigree of the owners. Where do
Mhm.
they come from? What else are they doing? We talked about, maybe an owner that's got a lot of unrelated businesses that may be customers, or we may have a state-owned bank that, would have its different issues. And being a state-owned bank is not necessarily safe. You could have a state-owned bank, that's got a lot of state-owned entities, and that has a lot of risk. You could have a branch of a global bank, where you need to understand what the head office is doing. Uh, you could have, widely distributed ownership, like a publicly traded company, or
Mhm.
you could have a single individual owner. So for me, understanding the ownership was always very, very important. And obviously, if there's a change of ownership, you need to understand that. Why is there a change? Who are you coming from, and who are you going to, and why? And you're also looking at other controlling individuals, whether it's senior officers or people on the board, or whoever, uh, because you want to understand their pedigree, you want to understand their independence, their the level of competence. Do they have any blind spots or biases? Or
Right.
certainly for related party transactions, you need to understand, the related party transactions. And then, you're always looking at PEP issues. If you have owners that may have, some either PEP or SOE exposure, state-owned enterprise exposure, you need to understand that, because that'll be a prism at which you use to look at the activity. Everything at the end of the day is severity and likelihood of improper use of the account.
Yes, exactly. And I have an observation here that, of course, we understand the PEP risk, politically exposed person. But many times, individuals are very powerful because, they own so many businesses, not having direct political influence or directly involved in politics. But I think that when they play a very important role in the business community, and they have some concentration risk, um, I think they can manipulate stuff. What do you think about that?
Well, I agree 1,000% with that. I mean, if the only way you're managing PEP risk is by, the industry list of PEPs, do they actually hold office? You've probably missed, many of the real exposure. It's sort of like list screening with sanctions. You need to be concerned about the evasion, not, I mean, obviously you need to screen the list, but you need to understand that next level out. And with respect to PEPs, um, business associates and family members, or other things, LLCs that you may not understand the ownership of, is even more important than the actual PEPs.
Yeah.
Most of your PEP exposure doesn't come from, the one where the PEP is a labeled owner of the account.
Mm,
Sometimes it does, but most of the time it's those LLCs, or, a close business associate that may be controlling the LLC. That's the problem. So you really have to be looking at the top transactors and saying, is this in an industry that would have some exposure to government money?
exactly.
Look at it like a construction company that, maybe have government contracts, or,
Mm,
maybe you have someone that's relying on licensing for state-owned oil wells or something. And
absolutely.
then you need to backtrack into, how transparent are these accounts, and, do the numbers make sense, or is there too much money that's disappearing in a non-transparent way. So I 100% agree with you that when it comes to PEP or state-owned entity risk, if you're only treating it as a list screening, you're missing the point.
Yeah. Thank you.